Vin said, when we went into this, we were just more or less entering this writer's strike. So, you know, Chris Morgan went out and he made a pass and at the screenplay. And fortunately enough, what we had, the bones of it, were spot on. But in terms of my involvement in developing it, I didn't know what to expect. I knew we wanted to make another one. It was down to the wire. We were waiting for the screenplay. And by the time we got it, until the time it was actually tangible, it was in our hands, I think we were looking at less than 2 months before we went into principal production. You know, and I felt that at one point that my character would be in a completely different place. I honestly felt that Brian O'Connor had learned his lesson and that law enforcement wasn't for him. So when I first read that the plan was that I was a Fed, an FBI agent, I was like, no, that's all wrong. You know, but then Justin explained it, he said, yeah, but how perfect is that? He realized it was wrong 8 years ago, 5 years ago, however long it was in movie time. But he's just going through the motions. Talking about miserable. This guy is depressed. You know, there's one guy that opened his eyes, a guy that he looks to as like an older brother, Dominic Toretto, introduced him to his true passion, racing. If it wasn't for this guy, he would have never tapped into it. How does he repay this guy? For showing him, introducing him to his passion? He busts up this whole family. And then in trying to make it right, horrible things happen. He hates himself. You know, and I was like, all right, that works, Justin. It worked out, but I was really reluctant at first. I almost wanted to fight him, but in the long run, he was right. And I'm just glad that, you know, we were asked earlier how it was working with Justin as a director. As a person, he's even better. He's just a great guy. You know, he's just very even-keeled. And although he has his work ethic is phenomenal, I think he definitely prides himself on his directing abilities. He has an inner peace and an inner confidence that you don't find too often because he likes who he is. And it makes working with him a hell of a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier to trust him because you know he's coming from a good place. And that's what I found with him. He said, hey, trust me. So I did, and I'm glad I did.
I'm a fan of anything from 1965 to 1972. Love the muscle car classics. I think that Chevelle is one of the best cars ever made. Paul ended up, after the first one, really getting a skyline, which you see in the movie, and really entering the real racing scene, which is pretty cool. He was actually doing time and going on the track. So he stuck with that tuner car and pushed it all the way. I didn't take the muscle car on the track, but a huge fan of muscle cars.
Jordana?
I'm not a huge fan of muscle cars because I can't drive anything other than automatic. But I mean, I would like a Porsche Cayenne. If Porsche is willing to give me that, that's the car that I find.
I think we can arrange it.
Yeah, right?
I'm a big fan of the electrical movement, and since I believe that engineers have dedicated their entire lives to the ingeniería de vehículos, y yo no sirvo para arreglarme un motor, yo misma. I'll stick to what I'm good at, make enough money to buy maybe a Tesla car. I think that's going to be the new movement when there's no gas, when we run out of fossil fuels. So I'll be like 50 years old, really knowing how to drive an electric car, because it's a whole different movement.
I'm all for electric cars. The only problem, they'll never replace petrol. You don't get the sound, you don't have the feedback, the vibration. Like, to me, that's 50% of the driving experience. And personally, I'm much more performance-based in terms of handling. And for that reason, I'm a huge Porsche enthusiast. I love rear engine, rear wheel drive. That's it for me.
Vamos a hacer una pregunta.
Because on one hand we have that, family sense around the table eating, and the prayer was sort of an echo of the first movie, and we had that sense of family and loyalty, and I think that's so important. And on the other hand, I got to see the boys beat the S out of each other, which was also fun. And
Please, man.
so that was just, that was the selfish part of me. That was just fun to, be the girl in the back watching that, because that was, I think, painful for both of them. So that was the most fun scene to shoot.
Big.
The best scene. We got a lot of good scenes in this movie. That's a tough question. It's like asking you which is your favorite kid. I'd like to think of this movie as a whole. It's important for me to think of this movie as a whole. So, not to cop out, but I see this movie as a whole. There's so many things that are wonderful about this movie. I thought the opening with Paul Walker was a very important place to start with that character. It was reminiscent of 70s action movies. But it had a contemporary feel. Shooting the opening sequence with Michelle Rodriguez was just paradise, because you see both of these, you see Dom and Michelle truly in love, truly in action, doing what they do best. They look like superheroes doing it. And the Jordana Brewster character is such an integral part of this story, because it's through her eyes. I mean, she talks about being in that scene and seeing the chemistry between brothers, two brothers fighting, two brothers breaking each other's heart, and proving to each other that they're down for each other. She talked about that scene. But it's through Jordana's eyes that we really witness this definition of friendship. So that is a very memorable scene, because we get to see it through Jordana's eyes, and her heart is torn between understanding both sides of the story. But there are a lot of fun scenes. I mean, we had a lot of fun in Mexico and doing those scenes in Mexico. When you see Dom and Brian actually come together and commit to working together, there's something that you can see in the audience where the audience goes, uh-oh. Where the audience goes, this is a real force. So my real answer is, I love all of it. It's like asking a mother that has 10 children to say, who's their favorite child? I love all of it. And one of the things I'm proud about is how it all comes together, how it all works together. I love Don Omar and Tego. I love their presence and contribution in the movie. So for me, I have to say, what's special about this movie is that it works as a whole.